think we're being too hard on him? It's only 8 games back, JT. He's only making $230 million guaranteed. I mean, he hasn't even played a full 16 games back yet, bro. Are we being too hard on Deshaun Watson?
It's funny because a reporter asked him that question. He was like, shoot, he don't blame anybody for having the criticism they have of him. He deserves it. So if he says I think we're on the money with him. It's like meditation works, and it is cool. And then once you get done, you got TJ Watt lining up on the opposite side of you. And
right.
DeJuan Jones had the one, like, you probably got to meditate every single time you get off the field after you get done going against DeJuan Jones. You feel me? But we knew it was going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride against TJ Watt. But with Deshaun Watson, I don't think he's going to become completely garbage. I would like to think that he can at least get back to a top 15 level, but I think the new reality is that this is just a new Deshaun.
So sad.
Now, I'm still waiting before I confirm everything, but right now, he's scamming the Cleveland Browns. That's what looks
he said, I'm still waiting before I confirm everything.
Yeah, like I gotta wait the full season. Now, right now, I got the assessment for what he looks like right now. Terrible. One of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Now, I'm not a garbage QB because I'm still waiting for him to show a little bit more. So at the end of this season, or not even the end, like around week 10, week 11, we really would know by this point because other quarterbacks out there struggling. But right now, with him making $230 million fully guaranteed, I want him to be struggling. So right now, like, I'm not saying I think Deshaun Watson is terrible overall, but on film with the Browns, he looks garbage.
Yeah.
You feel me? But Joe Burrow has struggled.
Definitely.
He's gotten out to us. Right now, I'm not saying like it's completely over, but right now, like it. And if he keeps playing this way, eventually I'm gonna come around and say this is just a new Deshaun, and Cleveland Browns fans just need to accept the reality. And it's only going to be from that point.
Adjust your expectations. Yep.
Here's the thing, like,
sad.
I don't think Kevin Stefanski is a bad coach. It's a tough decision for them because, like, he's just in a tough division. You feel me? But it's like you get, like, you got to make something shake with that. So you have to get replaced. Now, head coaching job, probably not. You feel me? But I do think solid play call. It's just like you just have a quarterback who just doesn't fit your scheme.
Right.
It's nothing against you. Like, it just doesn't work.
It's just the X's and the O's. It's the scheme you chose to run and the quarterback that ultimately you brought into your clubhouse, or not clubhouse, not baseball here, but you brought into your locker room. And it's like, this might be the new him. You got to adjust expectations. And I hate that. Like,
it's
Russell
funny.
Wilson, Deshaun Watson.
People,
like, damn, man.
And it's funny, like, people crapped on Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien was such a bad. Won a couple of NFC South titles, won a playoff game or two. One of those being, then, he was the man who was holding back Deshaun, right? Mac Jones looks pretty good right now. At least way better this season than what he did last year.
Right.
Who was Bryce Young's offensive coordinator at Bama?
Yep.
I'm not saying that Cleveland should hire Bill O'Brien, but all I'm saying is that,
yeah, you are.
it has to be the system. Like, you got to find an offensive-minded coach that truly is going to be able to Deshaun Watson. I really think Ben Johnson should really be the hire. Like, I think the perfect guy, because Deshaun Watson, you see with Baker Mayfield, he was a really, you feel me? Like, the run game was always there. He had a really good offensive line. We know with Baker Mayfield, a solid situation, he can win games for you. You feel me? But that's the thing with Baker, be perfect. And with a guy like
just like
Deshaun,
with Matt Ryan, it's got to be perfect.
Exactly. With a guy like, he's supposed to be able to still be able to win despite having
Overcoming
deficiencies and
dysfunction.
exactly.
Overcoming dysfunction.
But it's
Yep.
like, how can you overcome this? You kind of have dysfunction in your personal life as well. And I
Yep.
really think like this is on Watson's fall off. Like what you said, like I don't know if he wasn't putting in the work for real, for real. You know, like maybe he wasn't
Right.
putting in as much work, but I do feel you gotta will be like, "Are you just?" It's true. Like, how can you really have the amount of time that you're dealing with all these allegations, lawsuits, and whatnot? Like, how can you truly be focused? How can you truly be locked? Situation where maybe it
Right.
takes Deshaun Watson a year to truly bounce back. Who knows? But
Right.
I think by the time 11, that version of Deshaun Watson, I feel is going to be the actual Cleveland's going to get for the remainder of his career, unless they just get a head coach who can revive him. But whew, it ain't looking pretty right now for Deshaun. And I like him. You feel me? And a lot of people love him. Like, if it's
Right.
for the Saints, like there were a lot of players that were going to sign with them for like way less money. Like people really
Oh,
like
yeah.
the teammates love him. Like he's a really likable guy. He's one of the most likable players in the league. Believe it or
Yep.
not, I think he's like a person. I just think that it's just not a good fit in this system. I think they need to get him in a system where spread concepts, more 3, 4
Yep.
wide. That's where I think he's the
Yep.
most comfortable in. And then another thing is this, like him and Russell Wilson. You brought up Russell Wilson. Do you feel similar playing style? Like I never think of Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson as being quarterbacks that are going to pick you up. They're quarterbacks that do a lot of their big plays off
Off script.
improv. I think
Yeah.
with Kevin Stefanski, everything is more like systematic. You
Right.
want to be able to play within structure. You got to be able to operate
Because of how
well.
Baker was.
Exactly.
Because of how Baker was, Baker could not overcome that shit. He could not overcome dysfunction. Baker had to have his simple 2 to 4 step drops. You're looking at OBJ, or you're throwing to, Hayden Hurst or Austin Hooper, whoever it was. Like it had to be very cookie cutter for him, because if not, Baker was going to roll back into the
Exactly.
right and throw it out of bounds and have a horrible passer rating and a horrible completion percentage. And I'm not knocking Baker. I didn't super buy into him coming out of Oklahoma. He had a good rookie year, but I'm like, look, man, he's still showing us what he's showing us. He had the lightning in a bottle year, and I'm like, okay. It's funny that you bring that up as well, because it's really, simple system, kind of like 1-2 step. Deshaun Watson, like he has to have full control over that offense. He has to be able to play off script. He has to be able to roll out of the pocket. He has to be able to throw on the run, make a Caleb Williams, Patrick Mahomes type of
Because
throw.
like, do you think
That's when Russell Wilson was his best. Most of Russell Wilson's highlights, I feel like, come from off script. Real quick, they're talking about Russ and Peyton, right? So we saw in Russ's first game, a lot of dink and dunk. They're 0-2, blow an 18-point lead, both of the games at home. Sean Payton had to adjust his game to a noodle arm Drew Brees, who was literally targeting people with an average depth of like half a yard, -1 yard, like all the screen passes we threw, all the slants, all the in routes, out routes over the middle of the field. Like, and then maybe Drew would give us that 35 to 45 yard sling that probably took everything out of him, and we didn't see it for another 2 months. I mean, really, that's how it felt. Sean Payton had to get an Alvin Kamara to help him supplement, to bring in a Taysom Hill who could be in the trick plays, to bring in all these players to help play that short game. And then you see Russell Wilson dinking and dunking in the first game, and I'm like, Sean, you got Russell Wilson, bro. You got me on the show all year saying that you and him were going to bring something out of each other we've never seen, and you're doing this? You're putting the Drew Brees system on Russ. You were just on the herd saying, I'm going to get all of the hit singles for Russ to be able to sing so he can be in harmony. Russ looks good in the first half, but we still got to see the adjustment. So I love that you bring that up about the scheme. You were going to say something else, so I believe.
Russell Wilson just can't run that scheme, and it's like, I think Sean Payton's running that scheme because you can't get the most out of Russ because he doesn't have the athleticism to do what he used to be able to do.
Yep.
So you can't anymore. With Deshaun Watson, it's like he's never been a quarterback that I thought, oh yeah, like he plays well within somebody who is at his best in chaos. Honestly, like I think Deshaun Watson was making his biggest play. Everything was hitting the fan, and he was turning nothing into something.
Yep.
It's like, and you went from a game manager. The problem with Baker is like he couldn't win games when it was time for games. When the run game wasn't there, he couldn't carry you. For Deshaun Watson,
Yep.
that's what you were expecting. Some win you games, and he can't do that. And I think that a large reason for it is because, like, I just don't think for his skill set, like Deshaun Watson is one of those players that you don't confine him to some of those players. Like, you tell him go out there and play football. You feel me? Like, fuck it, like just play football. Just do
Straight
you.
up.
You feel me? And the Browns got a great team, so it's like with somebody having
Loaded
that kind of playing style, it can cause a little bit of chaos in a sense because it's like you're always rolling out of the pocket in a sense. But it's like Deshaun was doing best in Houston, and that's him, just making shit happen. And he hasn't been doing that in Cleveland. He's been making shit happen for the defense.
Right. Straight up. Straight up, 100%.
Fan, I was like, man, like, I'll take it.
Right. I had the Steelers defense in fantasy. Them boys got me 29 points. There's my quarterback, running back, good wide receiver of the week, however you want to call it.